I'm Annalisa, and I'll be telling you about books that I reread almost every year. This video was inspired by a video by Read Between the Lines. She did one a little while ago where she talked about 3 books that she rereads every year. So you'll notice all I'm going to be talking about today are series. That's because I like series best. I don't read very many standalone novels. I almost only read series, but I will read some standalone novels. It really depends on who's written them, who's recommended them to me. The first one I want to talk about is one that when I bring it up, people never seem to know what it is, which seems weird to me because, I discovered it at the library. The library has, all the books. The library has all of the books in the whole series and a few of the extra books. I'm just looking at my collection of books down here. That's what I'm looking at. And the library also has the other books, the other series that this same author has written, and she's very prolific. She's traditionally published, so I don't know why no one seems to know what I'm talking about when I talk about it, but I'm thinking maybe it's because you would find it in the children's section as opposed to YA. But in my blog post of a similar theme to this, I talk about what I think of age recommendations for different books and how they're useful in some ways, but some ways they're really not useful. This group of series takes place in a land called Deltora, and Deltora is part of the title for all of the series. First we've got Deltora Quest, and then what's the next one? Deltora Shadowlands, and the last one is Dragons of Deltora. And I have all of them. In fact, I have multiple copies. This is all of Dragons of Deltora. This is all of Deltora Shadowlands. Woo. And I don't have all the little ones of Deltora Quest because there's 8 of them and it's a lot to collect. But I do have all of them like that in these 4 put together ones. And I also have a second one of these guys, Deltora Shadowlands, in a bound together one because I thought I hadn't bought it yet, but I had. Oh, and I have more. I really like this. I really like this series. I also have this, which is the Deltora Book of Monsters. Which, look at these illustrations. Look at these illustrations. They're beautiful. Whoever does these illustrations, I know who it is. I mean, his name's on the cover. What's his name? Mark McBride. He does all of them. All of these. Aren't they beautiful? He does all of them, and I really like him. This is Tales of Deltora. This is the history and origins type stuff, which also has, oh, look at that. Beautiful illustrations. It's got these little gems in it. It's got a beautiful cover. These all go in my favorite book cubby, where the prettiest books of this kind of type go with swirls and gems and warm colors, and all looks very nice together. Secrets of Deltora, which is probably my favorite extra book. Very, very prolific author. She's also written the Key to Rondo series, which is about, of all things, children who go into a world of a magical music box. And then she also wrote Rowan of Ren, which I read for a really long time. I need to reread. I haven't reread it because I don't own the books, so I have to go through the bother of requesting them from the library. So it's harder to read those, but that was one that we read as a family together, so love those. Emily Rada is her name, as you can see. She's also done the 3 Doors trilogy, I believe is what the series is called. Look at that beautiful thing. The 3 Doors trilogy takes place in the Silver Sea, so I assume somewhere off that way. So that's exciting. And so it has kind of similar monsters but different, because one of the things that I like the most about the Deltora series, one of the things I like the most about this author is that she is, like, creative. Like, she comes up with 5 or 6 new monsters in every one of these little novella-length books. Like in this one, this guy is called Glus, and he's a giant slug that makes tunnels and spits spiderwebby type stuff at people, and except it's got little hooks in the spider webs, and then it like wraps you up, and it's got venom in the hooks in the spider webs, and and what else is in this one? Ols, OLS, that like are shapeshifters, but like they're a liquid based shapeshifter like Odo from Deep Space Nine, but not exactly liquid, like a ghosty, liquidy, ooey, white stuff. And they always have a mark somewhere on their body that indicates, even when they're in another form, like pretending to be a person, they always have like a mark on them that shows that they're a shapeshifter, and they're bad guys, all of them are. She comes up with so many monsters, so one of the reasons that these qualify for being rereadable is that these are such unique stories and such unique worlds that she builds. Her world building is epic. Such unique worlds and such unique people that I can't get anything like that from reading any other books, so I gotta go back and read these ones again. So, that's one of the things I really like about Emily Wada. Another reason that it's so rereadable is that the characters, there's 3 main characters, a teenage boy, teenage girl, and probably 30-year-old man, something like that. And part of the reason I like them is that they fit together in a team. Like, one of them is fast and good at solving puzzles. One of them has lived on her own for a long time, so she's really good at living in the wild and finding food, and she's very agile. She can slip between trees. And then the man is more of a bruiser. He's not much sexual, but he worked for the palace guard, so he is good at so he's got good battle techniques, and he's good at figuring out how to take down enemies, and he's good at he's like the strongman character. And I really like teams of characters that complement each other like that. I think it's really interesting and fun to see how people can work together and how they have to have different jobs to make up the whole. So I like that a lot, and I also like that they are like a little family. I like to fulfill my friendship needs through books. So I really like books that have characters who are really good friends with each other, and I can like live vicariously through their friendships. I appreciate that very much. And that's very true of the 3 characters in here. They are the same 3 characters through all 3 series. So you get to follow them through very wacky circumstances, wacky places they go traveling to, and this land of Deltora. I have the map just a second ago. This land is made up of all these different areas. In each different area, there's a different people group who are like creatures. Like, up here you have the Roadan, who are short little people with blue skin and red hair, and they have certain characteristics. There's different characteristics of people live here and all these different places. And so in 2 out of the 3 series, they go on a counterclockwise trip through the country, and so we get to interact with all the different people groups, and that's really fun and fascinating. And one final good reread for me is, which one is this? That is the final one. One of the final big reasons I like to reread this series is I love a happy ending, and I love knowing there's going to be a happy ending. That's just who I am. Distinct lack of character deaths. None of the main characters die. Sorry if that's spoiler. none of the main characters die. I like books where none of the main characters die, and I know ahead of time none of the main characters are going to die, so I can reread these all I want and happily know that nobody's going to die. Everyone is going to be happy in the end. Also, no, there are no love triangles. No love triangles in these books. None. Alright, I'll stop raving about Beltor now. Now I'm going to go on to the next series I like to reread, which I own so many fewer books of. That is Warriors. It is a book. It is a series about cats. As you can see, there's cats. I like cats. I'm a cat person. I only own books 1 and 4. I think there's 7 in the first series. This one again, Erin Hunter is the author. She has 4 series about this group of cats. Yeah, I think 4 series now, unless she started another one that I'm not aware of. I haven't read the most recent ones because they kind of they changed. They didn't have the things that I like about the old ones. So, the reasons I reread these books is, once again, we've got very lovable characters who are all very sweet with each other and are like a family. In these books, the cats, they're house cats, but they're like feral house cats. So they all live in the wild and they live in clans. And clans are there's a lot of clan loyalty involved. A lot of the stories and things that happen in these books have to do with clan loyalty, and clan loyalty versus loyalty to individual friends, clan loyalty versus doing the right thing, and like teaming up. There are 4 different clans, so sometimes the clans have to team up for the greater good, or sometimes the clans have to, 2 of them team up against 2 of the other ones, and it's just really fascinating. I really like the way, once again, this author does really nice world building not in the creatures, because those are all real life creatures, but in the society she makes, and how the 4 clans interact, and how the cats interact within each of the clans. It's really fascinating. So I really like spending time in this world. That's a huge reason for my rereading. I like to spend time with these characters in these worlds, these fascinating worlds that have to be fascinating to me. And I really like books that look at deep topics without being boring and without being sad. And both these series, Warriors and Deltora, look at big topics like, loyalty to a group versus loyalty to an individual. Deltora does a lot of looking at kings and leaders and how they can help their countries, how they can muck up their countries, how closing your eyes and letting things go on and just pretend that everything's fine when it's not leads to horrible consequences and things like that, and how wealth interacts with poverty, and so I really like both these series because they look at the big issues, but they don't feel like they have to be really depressing while they do it. They look at problems, and they look at how to solve problems, and they look at ways that are better than others and ways that cause more problems, but they don't end badly. They end with the best possible solution, and everything isn't perfect, but it's good, and no main characters have to die to teach us things. I really appreciate that. Final words on Warriors. I like it because characters who make a family, really interesting world building, really interesting world building with the society that she makes, and 3, it looks at big issues without being depressing, with actually being very uplifting and fun. Last rereads I'm going to talk about that I don't own, or at least that I couldn't dig up right now. And those are both by Tamora Pierce. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her first name correctly. I think I've got her last name right. She writes a lot of series out of a country called Tortal. And two that I really enjoy rereading are the Lioness series, I believe is the name of the series, and The Protector of the Small series, which are both about lady knights. Feminism. I like some feminism. They're lady knights who are the only lady knights. The ones that I like most from those series of 4 are the first ones, which are all about them training to become knights. They're the only women training at that time to become knights. One is doing it secretly, and then the second one is doing it in the open, but there's a lot of people who aren't terribly thrilled about it. So the first one is Elena's first adventure, and it's all about Elena, who goes off and trades places with her brother. Her brother is going to be going to night school, and she's going to be going to school for girls where they teach magic and manners and stuff like that, but they switch places because they're twins. In both cases, once again, we have nice little families that the characters make out of their friends. And at first, they're very alone because they're the only woman, but they find some guys who can be friends with them, who aren't too wrapped up in toxic masculinity to be friends with the girl. So they make their little clan, they make their little group, and it's a very nice little group, and they all love each other. And another part that I like a lot is that, unlike reading about characters like you usually would in YA who are going to high school, which is boring. High school is boring. You're reading. So instead, you're reading about, in both these books, Alan's first adventure and the first test, which is about Kelladry and is part of the Protector of the Small series. In both these books, instead of the characters going to high school, they're going to night school. Instead of learning biology and real-world history and chemistry and English and math, they're learning about strategy and sword fighting and shields, using shields, and history of an imaginary land that has magic in it, which is so much more interesting. I find that a lot more fun to read about than about people going to real life school. You know, the first 10 times I read about and saw on TV people going to real life school, the first 10 times it was done well. It was enjoyable because I was homeschooled, so I hadn't experienced that. It was fun to see what normal people experience that as. But the many times it's not done well, and the many times after the first 10 times it was done well, I just don't care anymore. I don't care about high school experiences. I don't care. So I like the family aspect of both Elena's first adventure and the first test. And I also like the atmosphere that they're in, where they're in this fascinating school learning fascinating things. And the third thing that I really like about these books is, once again, these books also look at big topics in a not depressing way, at least not too terribly depressing. Obviously, you've got issues of feminism, of these girls not being allowed or barely being allowed to train alongside the men. You've got issues of how women physically would have to work harder to be able to run the same distances as men and be able to sword fight with enough oomph as men and stuff like that. And I think the author does a really great job of looking at that and how these girls train harder and how they have to combat sexism to be able to do what they're doing and progress, and how even their friends who are the guys can sometimes, because their culture is so sexist, be caught up in that and say stupid stuff, say jerk-like stuff, say jerky stuff, and can generally also be an obstacle, and how they're not always as supportive as they could be, and how these women work and eventually change the world, change how things are run, change even powerful people's minds, because they prove that yes, they can do it, yes, they can do all these things, and do it well, and not do it in a scheming kind of way as was suspected of them, but do it in a work hard kind of way, and show everyone what they can do. So those are my favorite rereads. I love to know what you guys like to reread. Do you even like to reread at all? Do you prefer to only read new books all the time? And what is it that makes books for you? Is it the world building, the characters, tension, excitement? What do you like? Do you like comfortable type stuff? I love to know. And I'd also love to have read any of the books I've talked about, and I'd love to know your opinions, especially if there's somebody who has heard of Del Toro or Emily Rada and would like to fangirl with me. Thanks for watching. Bye!